Welcome to Profit and Prosper, a podcast for entrepreneurs who are ready to make some money while doing what they love. On this podcast, we're going to pull back the curtain and talk about all things business and money. But I promise you, this is not your typical boring numbers talk. I'm your host, Sarah Young, a CPA and CFO with over a decade of experience in finance, business, and leadership. I'm going to share everything I've learned from helping my clients grow more profitable businesses and keep more of what they earn while growing my own successful business along the way. You'll feel empowered and confident that you too can grow your wealth, live a rich life, and have an impact. Stick with me and you might even start to think that finance is fun. Let's dive in. Hello, my future millionaire business owners or future multi-millionaire business owners. Do you want more cash in your bank account? I know I sure do. On this week's episode of the Profit and Prosper podcast, we are going to be talking about 6 tips to manage your money so that you can create more cash flow, create more profit, and build wealth using your business. Currently out there in the online business land, on Instagram land, I see a lot of people talking about money mindset. I see a lot of business coaches talking about let's create more wealth in your business. I see a lot of even accountants talking about tax strategies or here's what the rich people do to make more money. And I think all that is great. But none of those things on their own are actually going to make you a wealthy business owner, in my opinion. Because what I don't think people talk about enough is tactically, what do you have to do on a day-to-day basis? What kind of money habits do you need to implement to make sure that as you grow your business, you are able to keep more money in your pocket? It's all about your money habits, okay? If you want more cash flow in your business, a lot of people tend to jump to sales to fix the problem. They think, I'm going to run a sale. I'm going to give everybody a promo code. I'm going to launch my program one more time. I'm going to go and hustle and bring on 5 more customers, whatever it is, right? You jump to sales to fix the problem because it seems like that is the fastest path to more cash flow. And honestly, it probably feels easier than fixing your money habits. I agree. Sometimes I think you do probably have a sales problem, meaning, yes, sometimes you do need to invest time or money into getting more leads in the door, into bringing on more customers. I work with a lot of our CFO clients on setting realistic sales targets and monitoring whether they're able to achieve those sales targets over time and what investments they need to make in their business that in turn get them to those sales targets. So I totally agree. Sometimes you do have a sales problem, but sometimes you don't. Sometimes, no matter how much revenue you bring in, you end up spending all your money on stuff you don't really need. Or on the flip side, sometimes I see business owners who are so afraid of spending money on the wrong stuff that they don't spend money on the stuff that will actually move them forward, that will actually build wealth in their business. So what you need to do is manage your money. And to a lot of business owners, this is not a skill that maybe comes naturally to them, or maybe you second guess yourself. Maybe you haven't taken the time to learn about finance and business. Maybe you just feel like, I'm bad at numbers. Like this is just not a skill that I have. But honestly, y'all, if you want to be wealthy, if you want to create a profitable business, which I know everybody listening to this podcast wants, you have to take responsibility for creating the wealth. You have to make sure you implement the habits that you need, the good financial money habits to actually build wealth over time, because it does not happen accidentally, right? There is not just going to magically be one day where you look up and you've got millions of dollars in your bank account, right? That just doesn't happen. It happens when you implement the right set of financial habits in your business to create profit, to create cash flow that you then use to build wealth. And I think that this is where I lose people, because when we start talking about actual, like, tactical financial money habits, we start to get uncomfortable, because when we look at our habits that we actually have and lift up the hood, right? Get really clear on what are my actions doing to the cash flow in my business, it's uncomfortable. It's hard to change your habits, right? Whether you're talking about like healthy habits, exercise, eating, getting good sleep, all of that, or you're talking about financial habits, right? These things that we do are just habits. They're ingrained in our brains, right? And it's hard to change habits. And that is why people, business owners, my clients have hired people like me, is so that we can actually help them create those habits and help them manage their money in their business so that they can build wealth. So, what I have for you in this week's episode is 6 tips for you to implement to help you manage your money and change your financial habits so that you can actually build wealth. Okay. These are tactical tips based on real life businesses. I've seen people doing these things over and over again. And if I could boil down, like, how do you actually create wealth? It is by managing your money, taking an active role in doing that, and implementing good money habits in your business and in your personal life too. But I'm going to focus on business here today. Do you want to learn how to create a more profitable business without having to sell more? It's all about having the right financial strategy in place in your business. A strategy that will help you keep more of what you earn without adding to your stress level. Come and join my totally free 5-day Profit Boost Challenge, which kicks off on Monday, March 14th. In the challenge, you'll learn how to find more money in your business and boost your cash flow without having to sell more, how to get clarity and confidence in your financials so you feel ready to tackle your business goals, and how to manage your money with ease so you can build your wealth. Each day, you'll get an email with a video from me and a worksheet walking you through the day's assignments, which you'll be able to complete in 30 minutes or less. You'll also get access to a private Instagram account where I'll answer your questions and help you implement what you've learned. Visit profitandprosper.co/challenge or the link in the show notes to sign up today. So, tip number 1 is act like a legit business. Stop treating your business like it is a hobby. View it as a valid source of income. So I see a lot of business owners, especially women business owners, who start up this business. They put a ton of time and energy into it, but for whatever reason, they don't set up legitimate systems on the back end to run their business, because they're somehow telling themselves in their head that this is really just a hobby. This is not like maybe you have a spouse that makes a salary and, their salary is legitimate income. My business is just, we'll create money. I'll create income one day. No, act like a legit business now. Stop treating it like it's a hobby. So some ways that you can create more legitimacy in your business is go set up that LLC, right? If you've been thinking to yourself, I really need to file this form, become an LLC, create a separate entity for my business, go do the thing, okay? Go do it, because no, it's not going to impact your taxes, but it will help you view your business as a legitimate entity. Use a separate bank account for your business. Stop combining your business and your personal stuff all into one account. Stop using your business bank account if you have one as your personal ATM because it is throwing off your cash flow. Just use a separate bank account. If you need to go set up multiple accounts, go do that. It is okay if you have to pay $30 a month in bank fees. I mean, I hate it, right? But if it helps you to have multiple bank accounts to manage your money better, go do it, okay? The $30 in the grand scheme of things is probably not going to break your business down, okay? Use payment processing systems that are actually designed for business. I see a lot of business owners, especially newer business owners, who use personal Venmo accounts, who use PayPal friends and family transfers, Zelle, stuff like that to get money from their customers. And they do this because they don't want to take the time to set up the separate accounts. They don't want to set up all of the back-end systems that they need to have a separate payment processor. They want to avoid the payment processing fees. Y'all, the fees, I hate them too, but they're sort of just a fact of life when you have a business, okay? It's going to happen, and you need to build this into your expectations. Think through if you are a customer of someone else and they say, oh, send me money on Venmo, make sure you don't mark it as a business because I don't want to pay the fees. Think about how you feel paying that person. Do you feel like they're a legit business? Do you feel like they take themselves seriously if they do that? You probably don't, right? So use a payment processing system designed for business. Stay on top of your tax requirements, y'all. If you get mail from the IRS, from your state tax department, open the mail, just address it. The things are not going to go away. We've got to just make sure we stay on top of these things. Again, it's a fact of life. If you don't want to deal with these things, then maybe you do actually have a hobby and not a business, okay? Use real contracts along those same lines. If you haven't taken the time to set up your contract templates or anything like that, go and do it because you've got to make sure that you stay protected. And the last thing I'll say under this tip is stop undercharging for what you're selling. Stop acting like a freelancer if you provide a service. Stop charging super low hourly rates for doing services. Stop charging barely above cost for your products. You have to stop undercharging because what you are doing is valuable to your customers and they are willing and happy to pay for that value. So stop undercharging, okay? I feel like I got a little bit worked up here, but that's because I feel very strongly that especially women business owners need to realize your business is a valid source of income if you make it that way, okay? All right. So tip number 1 is act like a legit business. Tip number 2 is instead of chasing vanity metrics like a 6-figure launch or 7-figure business or 10,000 followers on Instagram or whatever it is, instead of achieving vanity metrics, focus on creating an intentional goal that actually helps you, the business owner, do whatever you need to do in your business, right? That actually helps you pay yourself enough, that helps you cover your business expenses, that helps you hire the team that you need. Stop chasing the vanity metrics and set a goal that is intentional for your own situation. So you've got to know what it is you are working toward in your business. I started to talk about this in episode 2 when we talked about questions to help you get clear on your financial goals. And I'm just hitting on it again because I think it's super important for business owners to have an intentional goal they're working toward instead of saying, I want to get to $1 million, I want to get to 8 figures, whatever it is. These are just vanity metrics, right? Achieving that goal is not necessarily going to be the thing that actually helps you build wealth. So you need to know exactly, get clear on what it is you are working toward and what that will do for you in your life. How does that help you achieve your financial freedom goals and your time freedom goals? You need to base your intentional revenue goal on how much you need to pay yourself. How much do you need to cover for your ongoing business expenses? I want you to think through your revenue goal too and say, do I have the capacity for this? Is this realistic, right? Can I really double my client base and continue serving them at a high level? Do I have the capacity for this or no? I also want you to base it on your sales pipeline. How much can you realistically bring in the next month or 2 months or 3 months or 6 months, right? I say this because as I work through plans with a lot of business owners, we throw out these pie in the sky revenue goals that they're like, oh, I'm going to triple my revenue this year. And when it comes down to it, they're not able to achieve it because they haven't thought through whether they have the capacity or their team has a capacity to achieve the goal, or whether they actually have the marketing and sales systems in place to bring in the leads to even begin to get this many customers. So instead of focusing on vanity metrics, have intentional revenue goals that you base on the reality of your situation. Okay. You will be so much more successful and happy if you do this, as opposed to focusing on achieving whatever the next thing, whatever's popular out on Instagram. Tip number 3, financial habit number 3, is to track your money and know your numbers. I see a lot of business owners who run their business based off of the cash they have in their bank account. I see a lot of business owners who will go hire a bookkeeper and completely outsource all of the books to them, which is fine, but then they don't actually review what's going on in their business behind the scenes. They don't review the data that they get from their financial reports. So you need to be able to know your numbers. The most important things that you need to be able to know are sales, obviously. How much are you making in sales? On which products, which services, which months do well, which customers are buying from you the most. Know the granular details behind your sales, because once you know what's working, you want to double down on that thing that's working and then stop focusing your attention on things that don't work. So I have an example actually. This was somebody who is in my group program who has coaching and a membership. And I actually thought this was a really great example. So her coaching brings in, she did my module on knowing your numbers, got her books up to date, looked at her breakdown of her sales. Her coaching brought in 85% of her revenue, and then her membership sales brought in 15% of her revenue. And then I said, well, what's the time split there? Where are you spending the most of your time? And she said, probably, honestly, 85% of my time goes to the membership. That is a mismatch, y'all. In this case, she would have been so much more profitable and will be more profitable when she flips her time around and puts more time and energy into the coaching business that brings in 85% of her revenue, right? This is why it's so important to actually see the data around your sales, to know where your money is coming from, so that you can make the choice to focus on one area that's going to bring more money in, to let something go that maybe isn't performing well. You just got to have the data. I also want you to make sure you are tracking your spending on business expenses. I want you to be aware of, what are your recurring expenses that you have every month? How many subscriptions have you signed up for? What are your recurring contractor fees? Do you have payroll? Do you have marketing spend? What are the things that you have on an ongoing basis in your business? And looking back over the last year in your business, what are the one-off things that you've paid for? What programs, what coaches, what maybe you hired a contractor for a short time or had a project, right? What are the big one-off expenses you've had? So you know, what do I spend on a regular basis? And then assessing what are the one-time things that might be coming up again in the future so that you can plan for them. If you also track your spending, you can ask yourself, do I use the thing? Do I use the subscription? Can I save myself a few $100 a year by cutting this one out, right? Can I do things in a different way so that it costs me less money? Or you can at least validate yes, I'm spending money on this thing, but it's actually resulting in sales in my business. And so I'm going to keep doing it because it is worthwhile. I don't want you to think that I'm going to tell you always have to cut back on what you're spending. I just want you to know, is your money, is what you're investing in this thing actually resulting in sales for you? If it is, I'm cool with it. If it's not, then this is what I want you to look at cutting out. Some other things you might want to track: how much are you paying in taxes? Hopefully, you're saving money for taxes throughout the year and making estimated tax payments. If not, you might want to go ahead and start doing that. This will be the subject of later podcast episodes for sure. But how much are you paying in taxes? What are you setting aside throughout the year? And how much are you paying yourself? Track how much you're paying yourself month over month, because that's what your business is there for. We want to know, how much are you actually able to take out to fund your life and to build your wealth. So tip number 3, financial habit number 3, is track your money and know your numbers. Number 4 is spend less than you bring in. Okay. Cutting expenses out is hard. I realize that. I see a lot of business owners who say, well, I'm spending money because I'm trying to grow my business and I need to invest in this thing. And I agree. I think it's good to make strategic investments to grow your business, but there's a point where you're spending money just to spend money and it's not actually giving you the return that you need. Okay. So when you zoom out big picture, there are going to be months where you spend more than what you brought in, and that's fine. But if you look at it, if you're spending more than you bring in, or you're getting to break even consistently month after month after month, then something has got to change. Okay. The definition of a successful business is one where you are able to maximize the return that you get out of the time and money you put in, right? So think of it like a machine, right? You put in time and you put in money, and out comes hopefully exponentially more time and money than you put in, right? That's a successful business where you turn a little bit of something into a whole lot of something. So if you're finding yourself in the position where you're constantly spending more money than what you're bringing in, or you run out of money really quickly, every time you check your bank account, it's like, all kinds of money flying out the door, you're not able to pay yourself regularly, then we need to assess, how can you use what you have currently, your skills, your time, your team, any of the assets you already have in your business, how can you use those to their fullest potential to generate more money rather than going out and spending and spending? I think a lot of business owners keep spending on new stuff, on the next contractor, on the next marketing strategy, on whatever, thinking that the next thing is finally going to be what makes them successful. It's really not, y'all. What is going to make you successful is understanding how to take what you have at your disposal right now and turn it into as much profit as you can without having to go and spend on more and more things. Okay. A successful business is a boring business, right? And this is really hard for entrepreneurs to realize. It's hard for me to realize too, y'all. I like to solve the problem. I like to go figure out the next thing, right? I like to take on the next project, but a successful business is one where you figure out the formula for what it is that works, what it is that brings in the money, and you just keep doing that over and over and over again. So this is sort of the antithesis to spending everything you have. It's like flipping the script and saying, what are the necessities that I need to get the maximum profit out? Don't think that you have to constantly be spending to grow. Again, I'm not saying that you should never invest money to grow. I would never say that, because I think there's absolutely times when you need to make investments in your business. But if you find yourself using that excuse month after month after month, then something has got to change. Spend less than you bring in. This is probably the most important financial habit you could have in your personal life or in your business. Along the same vein, number 5 is use debt responsibly. So a lot of the same business owners who I see spending everything they bring in month after month, a lot of times also end up taking on a lot of debt in their business. I want to be clear, I am not against debt if it is used in the right way. If you're using it as a crutch, if you're using it like, imagine that your business is a boat and it's got a hole in the side and there's water coming in, right? I want you to use your debt to plug the hole. I want you to use your debt to build a better boat, right? I don't want you to use your debt to go buy a bucket that you use to shovel the water out, as it comes in through the hole. Hopefully that was a good analogy for y'all. I like it. I'm absolutely not against debt when you use it as leverage to invest in something that will give you a bigger return than what you're going to have to pay in interest. And so again, back to the boat analogy, this would be investing in things to plug the hole or to build a better boat, to make improvements to your boat. Probably not the things that, the bucket to shovel the water out, okay? So let's make sure that you are using debt responsibly to invest in things to move your business forward instead of just trying to keep things afloat month after month. If you are using debt to plug the holes in your cash flow, go back to the previous tip and figure out, what are you spending on that's not giving you a good return? The things that people spend on, where they tend to spend a crap ton of money that don't always pan out, tend to be in areas like payroll, having hired a team too fast, or maybe you hired a team member who is not a good fit. Payroll, even if you have contractors, is expensive and it adds up. Another area where people tend to spend a lot of money without knowing whether they get a good return is marketing. Marketing is super expensive a lot of the time, y'all, because we think, oh, we have to spend money on ads. We have to redo our website. We have to do this or this or this, right? Because surely this is going to be the thing that brings the money in. But what happens, I see a lot of times, especially with ads, is not assessing whether or not the money that you're spending on marketing is actually bringing in the clients. So you need to make sure you're tracking, where do my customers come from? Because you know your numbers from the previous tip, right? You know where your customers come from, and you make sure you are investing in marketing to do more of that, right? So payroll tends to be really expensive. Marketing tends to be really expensive. And then sometimes having a physical space is really expensive. This is more for product-based businesses than service-based, but a lot of the times people want to get a physical space, have a storefront or an office or something like that. That is expensive. So you have to make sure you know and are confident in, if you're going to invest in a space like that, that you can bring in the sales to cover that. Physical locations are expensive, okay? So use debt responsibly. The last tip I have is, when you are generating cash flow in your business, intentionally allocate money to build your net worth. So a lot of business owners start with, well, I need to pay myself, right? Yes, I agree. You need to make sure you're paying yourself on a regular basis. But I don't want you to stop at paying yourself just enough to get by. I want you to figure out, how can I pay myself what I need for my regular, ongoing personal expenses? And how can I take money to build my net worth over time? What I mean by building your net worth is creating assets that generate even more cash flow. So traditionally, you might think about having a retirement account, right? So you set money aside into your retirement account. This generates more money over a long time. You get returns on your investments. You get to take the money out later when you retire, right? That is a traditional net worth vehicle that people use. There are other options though. So investing money to build your net worth might look like investing money in your business. Maybe. Again, I keep going back to what I said before. Sometimes, yes, you do need to invest money in your business to grow, but you need to make sure that when you zoom out big picture, you are not spending more than what you bring in, right? You need to make sure that you are making these investments and then actually giving them the opportunity to give you a return so that when you zoom out, you bring in more money than what you spend, even with your investments in growth. It might look like setting money aside into a retirement account. I think that having a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA is a really, really great starter investment for business owners who are at the point where they're like, I'm paying myself, I've got cash flow left over, let me make some investments to build my net worth. This is a really great starter investment. It might look like investing in a brokerage account, right? I don't like to see people investing in brokerage accounts when you don't also have a retirement account set up. But that'll be a topic for another podcast episode. Other investments, it might look like buying real estate, buying an Airbnb, buying a rental property. I actually have seen a lot of business owners who, when they're ready to retire, if they sell their business, they've bought the real estate where their office is located or where their storefront is located. And the real estate, especially as you hold it over a long period of time, a lot of times can be worth as much as your business. And it can continue generating cash flow even if you get rid of your business. So real estate might be a good option. It could even look like investing in other businesses, y'all. Like, the sky is the limit when you have a business. There's really no cap on how much cash flow you can generate. You're just capped by whatever your own limitations are, okay? So I just want you to be intentional about, how do I do things to grow my net worth, to create more assets like, investment accounts, like real estate, like other business, to create other streams of cash flow so that I truly become wealthy and turn into a millionaire business owner. And also, how do you allocate money to build your net worth every month? This goes back to creating money habits, right? How do you get to the point where you can pay yourself regularly in your business and also set money aside to save up to buy that real estate or to transfer money automatically into a retirement account? How can you do that month over month over month and create that habit? This is how you build your net worth over time and create wealth. All right, so those were my 6 tips, my 6 money habits that I think business owners need to implement in their businesses to actually generate cash flow, create profitable businesses, and build wealth. And I realize some of these tips are not as sexy and exciting as what you might see the next time you open Instagram, right? It's not a get rich quick scheme. It's not talking about like the tax strategies that rich people use. Y'all, these are the day-to-day things that you need to do in your business to create wealth. So let me summarize these for you quickly. Number 1, act like you have a legitimate business with all of the right things set up behind the scenes. Your legal entity, bank accounts, systems, contracts, your pricing structure, right? Charge like you are providing value to your customers, because you are. Number 2, set an intentional revenue goal that is realistic based on your capacity, your team's capacity, based on realistically how many leads are you able to bring into your business, instead of chasing vanity metrics that don't actually impact your cash flow. Number 3 is track your money. Know your numbers. Know where your sales come from. Know what's working and what's not. Know where your money goes. Where are you spending it, right? On recurring expenses, and also making sure you look back at one-off expenses, because those oftentimes are really expensive. Know where your money comes from and where it goes. Number 4, spend less than you bring in. Zoom out, look big picture. On the whole, are you generating more money than what you spend? If the answer is no, then you need to go back and assess. After you track your numbers, go back and assess where you're spending money and figure out how you can do more with what you already have at your disposal. Number 5, use debt responsibly. If you're using debt to plug the holes in your cash flow, then maybe we need to revisit, how do you spend less money and how do you bring more in, right? Again, going back to the previous tip. use debt responsibly to do things that actually give you a return on your investment. And number 6, make sure you intentionally allocate money every month to build your net worth so that you can actually create wealth and get to that millionaire status. All right, y'all. So those were some of my best CFO tips, my best money habits that you need to implement in your business to build wealth and to manage your money so that you can achieve your goals. If you feel like you need help with implementing these tips, send me a DM on Instagram. I would love to hear where is it that you're struggling. And I also want you to go and sign up for my profit challenge that I'm kicking off starting on March 14th. I will have a link in my show notes, but it will be a 5-day totally free challenge to help you implement all of these financial habits in your business to create more profit and cash flow and build wealth. So I look forward to seeing you there. Thanks for listening to this week's episode. Now, I want you to go take some action. What's one thing you can do this week to create more profit in your business? Send me a DM on Instagram at YoungCoCFO and share your action item with me. If you have a question or topic you'd like me to dive into, or if you're feeling empowered about taking charge of your finances, let's continue the conversation. Go to profitandprosper.co to submit a question or topic for me to talk about on the show. And because we all profit and prosper better with friends, please leave me a review on Apple Podcasts, subscribe wherever you listen, and share the episode. Make sure you tag me at YoungCoCFO on Instagram so I can give you some love, and I'll see you in the next episode.